世界よ聞きなさい。我が名は対の女神シヴァ。
The sins of the Photoners made manifest and visited upon their descendants. Like always, the goal here is to provide you, the viewer, with a richer experience by exploring the things that make the PSO2 universe what it is. My name's Zeo, and I'll be your lore keeper. Today, we're talking about Shiva, the self-proclaimed goddess of annihilation. As always, we like to give a shout out to the fine folks who give life to these characters through their voices. In the Japanese version, Shiva is voiced by Megumi Han. Fans of Guilty Gear know her as the voice of Ramathal Valentine. In the English dub, she's voiced by Faye Mata, who also lends her voice to Aqua from Konosuba. Shiva is a Hindu god along with Brahma and Vishnu. Shiva is the god of destruction, whereas Brahma and Vishnu represent creation and preservation. Before we get started, let me make one thing abundantly clear. There will be some late Episode 5 and Episode 6 spoilers here. Those wishing to experience things organically should turn back now. We return home from our trip to Omega, having closed up the black hole that threatened the universe. The black hole near Earth had also gone away. The universe was saved. Or so we thought. No sooner do we leave the bridge, we encounter a familiar face from Omega. What's he doing here? And who's this master of his? At the shopping plaza, we see a strange woman reading a book, at the same spot where we first met Shion, no less. She tells us that the events on Omega are but a dream, and our endeavors there helped facilitate her return. Now we might be the cream of the crop among ARKS ops, but against this new foe, we are woefully outmatched. After that skirmish, we are formally introduced to Shiva, the goddess of annihilation. She delivers a chilling declaration: I was sacrificed for the universe. This time around, you shall be sacrificed for me. She calls us the vessel of the universe, and says she'll break us and the universe. She then utters some prophetic words. Not even the Akashic Records know which one of us will yet remain. All the key members of ARKS convene to discuss countermeasures against this new threat. We know nothing about Shiva and her cohorts besides the fact that they can absorb photons, so that renders ARKS weapons all but useless. So why exactly does Shiva have this power? Well, she was made for that very purpose. A piece of intel that Risa shares with us. Harriet takes over and recounts the tale of her origins. She was the ultimate photonic vessel, created to contain everything. She tells us of the one who created this vessel, conversing with it as if it were an actual person. Luther corroborates this and fills in some of the other details, telling us that he's the one who created Harriet, the ultimate photon vessel, which gained a will and a sense of self, much like how Shion came to be. Luther had succeeded in recreating that phenomenon. He considered this to be his finest work, his magnum opus, as it were. His fellow Photoners didn't see it this way, though. This was around the time they'd created the Profound Darkness. Luther didn't want to rush things. He had the time and the technology, in addition to the Akashic Records. This wasn't good enough for his fellow Photoners, though. Harriet was the only thing to which Luther had any real emotional attachment. In their haste, the Photoners ripped the soul out of her body and imbued it with photons to use as bait for the Profound Darkness. The plan worked, and both were sealed up in subspace, which by this point was the Photoners' favorite garbage dump. Shiva has the power to absorb photons, and she's also able to grant this gift to others. She and the others are also capable of hiding their photon signatures, and since ARKS had relied on photons for so long, this made them sitting ducks. Shiva was insanely powerful, and she wasn't bashful about rubbing this in our faces. Despite being the genocidal monster that she is, she treats Mitra and Varuna very well. She didn't just bring her two subordinates with her, though. She brought with her an entire fleet of ships, accompanied by hordes of lumen mechs, dubbed the Armada of Annihilation. These were old photoner tools repurposed by Shiva, and their cores were exposed, allowing her to gain control of them. Shiva and company would take over the mothership, effectively making it their new base of operation. But ARKS wasn't finished just yet, and neither was Shao. Shao merges with Rokamiz on Amdiskia, effectively granting him the power of two Shion clones. So this newfound calculational power meant no more photon or sneak attacks. Now they just needed a way to seal Shiva's photons. This is where Sukuna Hime and Magatsu would come in. but even the combined might of Sukunahime and Magatsu were outmatched here. The plan worked, but Shiva and company were one step ahead. But this Shiva that we fought was actually her retainer Mitra in disguise. The real Shiva is taken by surprise when Phaleg appears and whisks us off to safety. Phaleg doesn't use photons, which allowed her to get the drop on Shiva like she did. After Mitra's death, the gloves wore off. Shiva was done playing. The Photoners would show up on Earth, where Enga would enlist our aid. We also had the support of Mother Core, and of course Hitsugi and Kori. So we figured out that sealing Shiva's photons was the key to victory, but we needed a much bigger barrier than the one on Haruko-tan. Our deeds on Omega influenced the Akashic Records, which in turn had effects on our universe, but the heart of the Anima Thread was heavily guarded, and Varuna would be our final obstacle. Once the barrier was erected, Shiva pulled all her forces back to the mothership. The time had come for the final assault on the Photoner fleet and the mothership. The final showdown was at hand. The entirety of ARKS' might was brought to bear against the Photoner fleet as we made our way through the mothership alongside Matoi. Our comrades battled scores of Lumimex as we made our way to the center. Shiva was waiting for us there for one final confrontation. Of course, Shiva would have the upper hand before Sukunahime showed up to seal her powers, allowing us to deal the final blow. Shiva was gone, and the profound darkness needed a new host, and our body was just right. Here we are at the beginning of everything. Damn to repeat this again and again and again and again. No, not like this. We're gonna make us a new future. No more sacrifices, no more time loops. There was one final task: eliminate the profound darkness, which was separated from our body thanks to Matoi, Harriet, and Hitsugi. What Shiva said during our first encounter was very true. Not even the Akashic Records know which one of us will yet remain. But was this truly necessary? Did any of this have to happen? But of course, there's no rest for the weary. Even with the profound darkness gone, there's still work to be done, battles to be fought. A Guardian's job is never truly done. As always, thank you so much for watching and for the continued support. And remember, to thine own self be true. Until next time, farewell.